Hello, everybody, and welcome to the second episode of Fantasy 101. Here we are in week 12, and we're going to be taking us through our top three players to start, and then we'll discuss a little more after that. It's just Scott and I today.
Hey,
James is unfortunately ill because of casserole, which is
um,
unfortunate. So let's get
yeah,
started. Scott, would you like to go first?
sure. This is just gonna be a short, quick episode because
Yeah.
Thursday already happened. I mean, Thanksgiving, we didn't really want to post an episode,
Mhm.
so we're gonna try and post one, I believe Saturday, correct? And
Yep.
you'll be able to see it before Sunday's games. All right, so one start that I think, I did this last week and it didn't really turn out well, but I still think it'll be a good turnaround for Charkandrick West again if he's playing, or Spencer Ware. Because
Mm.
Charkandrick already had about like 6 points, and then he got injured, and Ware got like 22. So
Yeah.
Charkandrick would have been on for a good day. Um,
Those
and
Chiefs running backs, they're good.
yeah, and Buffalo, another bad rush defense. So I mean, again, I think there will be a good game out of one of those two, whichever one is starting at least. Another matchup who I think will play well is Eric Decker. We've
Er,
seen the Jets receivers kind of drop and rise a little bit. But against Miami, I mean, the Jets need to win this week to kind of get a better wild card spot or in better position in the hunt. So I think they're going to air it out, and Eric Decker is going to be a big target, as
Mm-hmm.
well as Brennan Marshall. It seems like Eric Decker almost gets more touchdowns slash targets. So
Yeah.
I think he'll have a great week. And then my last matchup is Coleman. It seems like this year in fantasy, for all the starting running backs that have gotten injured, their backups have played just as well. So I think Freeman's injured. It's going to be another one of those weeks where the backup steps in. I mean, like Langford, Charkandrick, even Spencer Ware for him last week, Rawls. I mean, all these backups are doing well. So, I mean, I think Coleman's going to have a good game against Minnesota. I think it should be fun.
Mm-hmm. So, I'm this week I'm really high on the
Hi.
Cardinal. Yeah, like Le'Veon Bell on the Cardinals passing game. They're playing against San Francisco this week, who have just been awful against the pass in fantasy as well as in real life, and so that's why I like Carson Palmer this week. Some people still don't like regard Carson Palmer as that good, but he is elite in fantasy. He's up there with Aaron Rodgers and Tom Brady. And so if you would ever think about not starting him, even if you have, I don't know, say an Andy Dalton or someone like that, definitely start Carson Palmer. And another one I want to mention is John Brown.
Ooh.
A lot of people forgot about John Brown because he had a couple weeks out for injury, but he gets a lot of targets over there in Arizona. And I think, you don't want to start Michael Floyd now that John Brown's back. I think he's going to have a pretty good solid game. And against San Francisco, it can't go wrong. Last person I want to mention is Javorius Allen. As you know, probably last week, Justin Forsett broke his arm, which is very unfortunate for those Ravens fans, such
I
as
don't want
Scott.
to talk about it.
Anyway, after that, Javorius Allen came in and he had over 20 carries after
Wow.
the 20 carries after the time that Justin Forsett went out. So what probably means that he's going to get a lot of touches, especially with Joe Flacco
Oh my
also being out for the
God.
rest of the season. So I would definitely start Javorius Allen, and if you were thinking about that flex spot or if you're low
Yeah.
on running
And
backs,
against
he's going to start.
Cleveland, which Forsett had his best game of the season was against
Mm-hmm.
Cleveland, so
Cleveland stinks.
Javorius is going to come in and probably do the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah, so a couple players that we've mentioned, there's how many backups were there? Ware, West, Coleman,
Mm-hmm.
Javorius. I mean, all these backups are coming in, like D'Angelo too. It's
Yeah, all of them, really.
injuries have been huge, so I mean, for those players who have drafted big running backs and then their backups have just gone to a different team and played as like almost better, it's been frustrating.
Yeah, yeah, it is frustrating for some people, and then the people that get them, it's great. Like, people think, oh, it's not worth getting the backups because they're just going to be bad. In fantasy,
Exactly.
it's not always about skill, but if you're if you're the lead running back for a team, that's
Yeah,
worth everything. Like look
yeah,
at,
yeah. I remember who was it? One of our players in our league picked up Langford when everyone was going after D'Angelo, and although D'Angelo got like what 35,
yeah.
Langford still he put up like 18, like 30 and stuff like that. And for that one player, he might have not, been on the starting spot for a while, but these past 4 weeks he's putting up 9 plus or like 10 plus, and it's really helped to
Mhm.
get to that better playoff spot.
One thing I want to talk about is just in case your team's in need of a quarterback, because of all like the rookies this year, and like Teddy Bridgewater, he was a rookie last year, but you have these guys that in a lot of leagues are still on the waivers, like Jameis Winston,
Mm.
uh, Bridgewater, like I said, Mariota, and a lot of Manziel was starting, but then he partied too much. Um,
Yeah,
Anyway, like if you need a quarterback, these guys are not bad options, especially Jameis. He's actually
five.
putting up pretty good numbers.
Yeah, and this is a huge fantasy factor. Rushing quarterbacks who can
Yeah,
run the ball
they're great.
really come in handy. Jameis, I mean, he threw for 5 TDs, but he's rushing for a lot of TDs. Marcus Mariota is doing the same. Bridgewater not as much, but he can still run.
Mm-hmm.
And even like Fitzpatrick, like I mean, you may not see him as a good fantasy quarterback, and he may not be, but he can put up decent stats with his rush game.
Exactly. Like in most leagues, you get more points for rushing touchdowns than you would for passing touchdowns, and so
Yeah.
that helps a lot. Like Cam Newton
Oh my
is up
God.
there with Tom
That's
Brady
why he's
for
doing so well because he
yeah.
rushes for a lot of TDs. He'll put up like 50 rushing yards.
I think he probably passed Tom Brady for the number one quarterback in the league
Yeah, and
in
what
fantasy.
what we do is we do 25 passing yards for 1 point and 10 rushing yards for one. So
Yeah,
Cam Newton's they got 50 rushing yards last game. That's 5 points. He need to get 125 passing yards. That's a big
big
dip.
big difference. So if you see those guys out on the waivers and either your quarterback doesn't have a good matchup or you don't have good quarterbacks, those are guys you're gonna want to pounce on,
Pounce.
pounce on those waivers.
Pounce.
Oh my god. Anyway, I think we
Well,
talked last week about those trades.
yeah, we mentioned trades and stuff.
Check
Just
check
keep
out our
getting
last
your
episode.
lineup started. There's no more bye weeks from here on out, so
Yeah.
it should be cruising on down to the playoffs for now. Just getting your position. If not everyone makes the league playoffs in our league, so
Hmm.
it's really positioning. But
Yeah.
if
Also, I'll talk a little about defenses. I had the Broncos defense who were just a constant start no matter what for the first half of the season. They would
and
put up top numbers pretty much every week. And then the past few weeks they started to dip off.
hey, Chark-Handrick, the 80-yard TD, what you gonna do?
They bounced back a little bit against Chicago, but really they should have had a much better game. And the Seahawks defense, some of those defenses that people expect they can just start every week,
Yeah,
it's not always as good. You gotta If you see a defense on the waivers that's not bad and has a solid matchup, you're gonna
yeah,
want to pick them up just so you can at least think about starting them.
yeah. I playoffs for those like not must starts. Those guys that are
Hmm.
kind of risky that you're still debating if you could start or sit someone else. We talked about trading, but sometimes it's not an option. Look at the matchups. Defenses are literally based off matchups in our
Yeah.
league. A defense is good and it could be a must start, but those are rare. Like you just got to look at the matchups they have, even for like running backs who can't perform as well. Like Chris Johnson, like I'm not saying he's a must start this week. I'm not even saying he should be a start, but he's gonna have a pretty decent game because he's playing San Francisco, and I think the Cardinals are gonna go up early, so they're just gonna run it a lot. So
Exactly. And yeah, matchups work a lot for defense, but if you're looking at a top wide receiver, you don't want to look at just the amount of points they give up to wide receivers. For example, like Des Bryant, the Panthers, this isn't a great example because the Panthers defense is good, but like the Panthers defense a lot of times gives up a fair amount of points to wide receivers, but obviously they have a great cornerback in Josh Norman, and he just shut down Dez. And it's the same thing. Like some teams, they're
Mhm.
not great on defense, but they have a great cornerback.
Yeah, like I have a good example, like Alshon Jeffrey against San Diego. He was injured for a little bit. I mean, he's going against what's that guy's name? Verrett. He's a great cornerback. I thought he'd be
Hmm.
getting isolated. Even Jay Cutler threw a pick six on one of those plays.
Yeah.
He still managed to get 151 yards in the game. No touchdown. He got to the one at one point, but he got 15 points on a like all-star cornerback. And you just gotta, you gotta start the people who you've trusted all year.
That's true. That said, please don't go and bench Antonio Brown because he's facing Richard
Seattle,
Sherman.
yeah.
Yeah, don't
Antonio's a playmaker. You got Ben.
don't let that scare
You
you.
got Ben back. It's just,
Yeah, that would be a noob move.
that would be. But
Just
like
see,
people
just got
like
50
Amari
yards.
Cooper, who's losing targets to Crabtree, and like,
Yeah,
those guys
committees
are
are always bad.
they're
You
a little
know,
bit scary. The Raiders' offense looked fierce, but now they're kind of
I don't know what's going on with the Raiders, but
slowing down.
yeah. Anyway, I think that we've covered a lot. I think.
We have, except for kickers.
Oh, kickers. Let's talk about kickers a little bit.
So if you kick a field goal, you get points. All right, thank you guys for
3
watching.
points. That's all you need to know about kickers here on Fantasy Football 101. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you next episode.
We will catch you later.
Catch you later. Fantasy you later.
Oh my god.
That was, if you guys happen to witness the awful pun that James made in the last
But
episode,
did you keep that in?
I kept it in. We're all scarred for life from that.
Yeah, we'll catch you guys later. We're probably not going to put this part in, but
No, maybe I will.
no.
We'll see how I'm feeling on the editing. Anyway, thank you for watching. We'll catch you later on Fantasy Football 101.